Another mass shooting in the US leaves 14 dead. Critically low water levels force rationing program for NCD. PNG Fire Service chief says review must happen.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartolo.
Good evening and welcome to Thursday's news. 14 people are dead and 17 others wounded in the latest mass shooting in the United States. Video from the scene showed people being treated and carried on stretchers. Witnesses told police they saw 3 men with long rifles exiting the scene. A shootout with police later resulted in 2 of the suspects shot dead. The motive for the attack is not known, but authorities are not ruling out terrorism.
One man had a text from his sister. She was hiding inside.
How scared are you right now?
I'm really scared for my sister.
Did she tell you what happened inside?
She just said there was a shooting. She's scared. She's hiding in the closet with 2 other people.
Another man heard from his daughter who was locked in an office.
She texted us about 30 minutes ago and said that there was a shooter. She thought he'd shot 10 to 20 people and they were hiding.
Police eventually entered the building and began searching room by room. It soon appeared the suspects were gone. A high-speed police chase began soon after. A black SUV and a police car shot up in an exchange of gunfire. One of the weapons was left on the road. Tactical response teams inched closer to the car as they tried to work out if those inside were still alive. This latest shooting has already prompted calls from the very top for tighter gun laws in the US, where mass shootings are now almost routine.
There are some steps we could take, not to eliminate every one of these mass shootings, but to improve the odds that they don't happen as frequently.
But it may not be before more mass shootings like this one.
Back home, and police have identified the deceased driver of the vehicle involved in the police chase in Port Moresby last week as a known criminal. NCD Commander, Assistant Commissioner Sylvester Kalaut, says the post-mortem was completed yesterday and an official medical statement will be released by the Port Moresby General Hospital. The incident involved police shooting at the vehicle, killing the driver and injuring the passenger.
This is the area where the incident occurred last Thursday. In an off-camera interview with NCD Commander Sylvester Kalaut, the Assistant Police Commissioner said the female passenger who was with the driver that night was identified by police. She was interviewed by police investigators today. According to police reports, the vehicle sped past a roadblock at Tokarara on Thursday night. Police followed the vehicle in a car chase which lasted for 20 minutes into the Morata area. There were gunshots fired by police which killed the driver and injured the passenger, who is a soldier. Last Friday, the day after the shooting, members of the PNG DF retaliated and assaulted 2 police officers and destroyed 3 police vehicles at Manu Outer Port.
Obviously, those incidents are not called for. But some of the troops have got frustration released through the actions that they have taken. But those things are under investigation. In a joint police conference later that day, an investigation team was set up to look into the shooting. This team includes investigators from the Criminal Investigation Division, headed by OIC CID Godwin Dukaduka. Commanding Officer of the 1st Battalion Pacific Islands Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Anderson Napio, said he is willing to surrender these soldiers involved in the assault of police officers and the destruction of police vehicles.
These sort of incidents cause a great deal of worry amongst our community and a great deal of disruption to the lives of our people.
This morning, a press statement released by Commissioner Gary Baki said investigations into the shooting have already commenced and senior officers from both disciplinary forces have agreed to charge the officers involved. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Port Moresby will experience water rationing beginning next week. This is due to the prolonged dry weather caused by El Nino. Edarano announced that it is now taking measures to ration water as the main water source, the Sirinomo Dam, is fast depleting.
The hot, dry spell experienced in Port Moresby will now take a direct toll on the city residents as water level continues to drop at the Sirinomu Dam. Edarano will now administer necessary water rationing as the current water level at the dam stands at 120.61 million cubic meters, which is just 35% of the dam capacity. The water rationing exercise will see certain parts of the city go without water for a certain amount of time. Edarano is again appealing to the public to follow water conservation advices. City residents are urged to take shorter showers and stop the use of hoses to wash vehicles and water gardens. The public is advised against using running water for washing clothes and dishes. Residents are also instructed to fix leakages in and around their premises and to report any major leakages and bursts. With 65% of Sirinomu Dam already depleted, and with a faster reduction rate due to precipitation, the water rationing exercise will continue for an indefinite period. The water rationing schedule will become effective as of December the 7th. Delhi Waigeno, National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Fire Service has been notorious for its slow response to fires in the nation's capital. However, Chief Fire Officer Isaac Silas highlighted that the service is deprived of manpower and equipment. He says the service is currently awaiting a review by the government to improve funding and resource levels.
Manpower and development planning are some of the challenges facing the PNG Fire Services Department. Chief Officer Isaac Silas says if more fire stations are built in a 20-minute radius within commercial building level, they would have a better chance of saving them. Out of 21 provinces, 10 provinces don't have fire stations, but Port Moresby has only 4 fire stations to cover the whole of NCD.
Should actually allow government and community to actually look at the fire service and review it and determine what's needed. Then they can then be part of the ownership of that and make resources available. Right now, what we're saying is not being responded to positively, and I'm being very diplomatic.
A review of the fire service has been submitted to the national government, but is on hold due to no funding.
The competing priorities of government, that much we are mindful of that, but someone needs to make a decision and say what is priority in terms of safety.
Since May, there have been 4 major fires in the nation's capital, with the most recent being a major supermarket branch, which is currently under investigations. Marilyn Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
The National Court today has cleared Chairman of National Broadcasting Corporation Timothy Tala of official corruption charges laid against him by police in October last year. Deputy Chief Justice Gibbs Salika, when handing down the verdict, brushed aside all 3 charges of official corruption levelled against him under Section 92 of the National Criminal Code. Eric Haurukma with this report.
After a year of ongoing court battles between the accused Timothy Tala versus the state, the Waigani National Court has reached its final verdict today.
Therefore, we ended up in the court, and the court has proved that the board had the power to change any organization, including NBC. And I would like to extend my thank you to my board members who have been standing by me, and including those staff of NBC.
Mr. Tala was the chairman of the National Broadcasting Corporation during the time he was arrested and charged by police in 2014 while conducting a board meeting asking for 20,000 kina for personal use and 1.5 million kina for a credit facility for the board. He was allegedly charged under 3 counts of official corruption under Section 92 of the Criminal Code Act for abuse of authority, unlawful behavior and arbitrary act. The Waigani National Court ruling by Deputy Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika held that the 20,000 kina Mr. Tala mentioned for his personal use and the 1.5 million kina for the NBC board facility was never mentioned in the context of a board meeting.
So he's now free from all and every allegation, and he can move on and carry on his duties as the chairman of the NBC board.
The court acquitted Mr. Tala free of all these charges laid against him and ordered that Mr. Tala would continue to serve as board chairman of NBC. Eric Arupman, National EMTV News.
A case by landowners seeking to nullify the LNG agreement between ExxonMobil and the government has been dismissed. The National Court decision was handed down this afternoon by Justice Derek Harthshorn. Present to hear the decision were the landowners led by Simon Ekanda and the third defendant, ExxonMobil. This decision ends a 7-year-long proceeding. The landowners' lawyer, Mr. Hayara, said they will consider whether or not to file an appeal. You're watching National EMTV News. Ahead in the news, David Arore maintains the lead in the Ijivitari by-election. Bougainvillians question the peace agreement in the lead-up to referendum and International Disability Day. Welcome back to the news. As of elimination round 18 at 11:30 today, 3 candidates are left in the race for the Ijivitari Open by-election counting. People's National Congress party man David Arore is in front with a difference of 2,000 votes ahead of United Resource Party candidate John Warrison. Arore is on 9,230 votes, while Warrison collected 7,466. Independent candidate Richard Masere is expected to be excluded in elimination round 19. A winner is expected to be declared tomorrow. Total votes exhausted today were 7,363. To the autonomous region of Bougainville, veterans headed by Sem Kaona have called on the autonomous Bougainville government to review the Bougainville peace agreement. They have questioned the ability of the peace agreement to lead the autonomous region into a safe referendum before 2020.
Mr. Kaona made this call, questioning why all powers are yet to be drawn down from the national government before referendum. Concerns were raised on Bougainville's political position with the very limited time left before the region votes. Mr. Kaona said autonomy is one of the main clauses of the Bougainville peace agreement that gives effect for the transfer of powers from the national government. Kaona questioned what would happen after 2020 when all necessary powers will not be transferred and what the Bougainville peace agreement guarantees after referendum for the autonomous government's safety and the people as a whole. Kaona strongly emphasized the Bougainville peace agreement to cater for the critical decisions authorized by the ABG, such as the Mekamwi's involvement and the Panguda mine compensation. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
The Moresby provincial government has provided 30 bales of clothes to one of the 2 factions involved in the fighting at Boundary Road Settlement. The bales of clothes will go towards assisting those families whose homes were burnt during the clash last month. Martha Lewis reports from Leh.
The Boundary Road Settlement effective today as a total ban imposed. Moresby Governor Kelly Naru told the people gathered at the Sialung compound that anyone selling or drinking alcohol must be handed over to the police. One of the main triggers for the fighting has been alcohol consumption. The Provincial Peace and Order Committee has passed a resolution on Friday to end the fighting. The committee also came up with short and long-term measures on how best they can address the problem. In the short term, the committee working with the Leh District has partnered with the different churches in the community. The churches will carry out awareness programs to give assurance to the people. The committee at this time will not come up with any tough measures to impose on the community.
Long people trying long managing this crisis, na finding some way forward. Long belly see, one belly can come up. Name long on brata susab long imi long atla place.
Governor Naru has also drawn attention to media reporting that has contributed to inflaming tensions.
That we are trying our utmost to manage. And given the situation, it would be irresponsible if the media did not report positively on outcomes of the efforts of the government.
While the short-term effects are in immediate effect, in the long term, the provincial government is looking at creating proper land spaces for settlers to build their houses on. The provincial government will also be looking at bringing in water and electricity into these settlements. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Kalan Special Education Resource Center at Gerehu in the nation's capital commemorated International Disability Day today. The theme, Inclusion Matters, Access and Empowerment for People of All Abilities. It emphasizes that this special group of people should have access to any service available to able-bodied persons.
Kalan Special Education Resource Center at Gerehu is one of 23 centers which have been helping many with disabilities in the country. The center teaches children how to communicate and prepare them to continue into mainstream schools to further their education. Program Coordinator of CSERC at Gerehu, Marian Sabatan, said there are many challenges which hinder them from delivering services to the less fortunate.
Challenges that we face, especially funding and transport to extend our services to other places. Manpower is another one.
Inclusive education is the inclusion of the disabilities into the mainstream schools. Over the years, less priority has been given to inclusive education in PNG. The Department of Education's Inclusive Director, Dr. John Pokana, said the department has plans to improve inclusive education in the country.
Our plans are that it is high time now that children with disabilities, as well as their counterparts, children who go through a normal process of schooling, should be educated together in the mainstream school system.
Mrs. Sabaton thanked the Gerehu Stage 6 community for their support and appealed to the general public and stakeholders to contribute to the center in any way possible.
The private sectors, the public, if they can give in cash or kind to help the children living with disabilities.
Louisa Frank, National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The kino closed lower at $0.3355 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kino was buying $0.3280 US, $0.4458 Australian dollars, $0.3058 euro, and 40.12 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee closed higher, while gold, cocoa, and copra closed the day lower. Palm oil, crude oil, and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 159 points lower, the ASX closed at 26 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed 27 points lower. Among stories after the break, new cases of TB patients resistance drugs in Western Province. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Another 6 patients have been diagnosed with multi-drug resistant TB in Daru, Western Province. This was confirmed by the health workers from Daru General Hospital. 358 patients are currently receiving the multi-drug resistant treatment for TB in the province. Our journalist Fabian Hakalitz has been following this story.
While efforts have been made to reduce the alarming TB crisis in Daru, Western Province, cases continue to increase. This morning, Daru General Hospital TB ward officer in charge, David Hosea, told EMTV News from Daru 6 new cases were detected. That now brings the infected multi-drug resistant TB patients to 109.
Now we have 6 others added onto the 103 cases. So currently, up until now, the 3rd of December, we have 109 new MDR cases detected so far.
Meanwhile, some additional support staff contracted through the Health and HIV Implementation Service Provider to support the Provincial Health Authority to strengthen the TB program have left.
Earlier this year, we have our data entry officer has left, who is employed by the HIP. He left. That's around about February. Just last week, we had our case management officer, who is a person from Moresby. departed also, and our logistics officer, who is also from Milne Bay, has gone on leave and finished according to what she told me. And we are looking at our councillor, who is currently here, but she'll be leaving on the 19th of this month and going for good as well. These four have been employed by the HSIP program, which is the implementation branch of the DFAT, and they believe it's due to conditions that are not favorable for them, so they are leaving now.
According to hostel staff, this is because some of their requests have not been attended to, like accommodation.
Currently, as the OIC for the TB ward, I fear that as soon as these responsibilities that were taken up by the donor partners, as soon as these people leave, everything will have to fall back to my few overworked staff. Currently, I have 10 staff apart from myself, which makes it 11. So if these people leave, every responsibility will fall back to my staff, that is the counseling, the case management, data entry, and the HIV testing and counseling and testing, which is another extra load, meaning that I go back to square one.
Fabian Haklitz, National EMTV News.
Deaths from cervical cancer are increasing in Papua New Guinea. Dr. Viola Kwa from the Women's Doctors Association said that more women are dying from cervical cancer than birth-related causes. Although maternal mortality rate is 733 per 100,000, she said deaths from the two preventable cancers, cervical and breast cancers, are very high. A resolution from the 51st Medical Symposium held this year was to have a women's health protection bill put in place to address such issues.
Now, initially, we are planning to only address breast and cervical cancer, but the Women's Health Protection Bill will be one that should cover more around women's health issues than just cancer.
Having access to facilities and services in the country is still a big problem with people with disability. President of the Moresby Disabled Agency, Benedict Hippom, says many of the buildings are not designed for people living with disabilities. He says because of the barriers, people with disabilities are not able to access services.
Benedict Hippon is the president of the Moresby Disabled Agency. He says every day is a struggle.
Like crossing road or walk about the road go lo town or go lo market or hard to mass.
Buildings in the city are not designed for people with special needs, and the design of the transport systems don't take into account people with disability. The roads and pathways are too risky for them.
Accessibility to them, like communication. Our children, disabled children, are not accessing schools because all materials, accessible on all people with disabilities.
For his, advocates have been calling on the government to recognize the need for accessibility for people with disability. But there has been very little attention given. Mr. Hippon is calling on the national government to look at the barriers facing people with disability. He says the national government need to be serious about this issue.
Also, Parliament must put him disability hate. And number two, something me like him also rights for people disabled must give him come big people all disabled person and rights for people.
This year, the national government launched the National Policy for Disability. It now needs to focus more on accessibility so that change can happen. Mr. Ipon says this is the way the society can become inclusive and people with disability can be involved in decision making. Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Ley.
The PNG Nurses Association has been making legal arrangements for a nationwide stop work since last week. This is because the Department of Personnel Management has not responded to their appeal for the signing of the Nurses Awards. The Nurses Awards includes the reclassification of accommodation subsidies, domestic market allowances and other supporting allowances they had appealed for to improve nurses' welfare. However, following the Department of Personnel Management's signing of the Nurses Award, the pending action for a nationwide industrial action has been withdrawn. Acting National President Stephen Nawick has given assurance that there won't be a stop work by nurses throughout the country.
In regards to the current log of claims that we have proposed last week, since we have reached agreement, the progress of that agreement has been very good. So we have actually, through the media, on behalf of the Nurses Association, we'd like to inform all our members that we are now withdrawing that stop work arrangement. So there won't be any stop work. We have reached an agreement with the state authorities, Department of Personnel Management and Health, and we are now in the progress of signing our new log of claims.
Gerehu Hospital is in need of more equipment to adequately meet the demand of its patients. This was highlighted today during the presentation of a small donation of medical supplies and equipment to the hospital.
The donation of medical supplies and 2 suction machines was made by a construction company, Leighton PNG, to the management of Gerehu Hospital.
Part of what we see is giving back to our Papua New Guinea community. 90% of our employees are Papua New Guinea nationals. So if we can do small things to improve their health, then we get a benefit back as a business. The community gets a benefit through healthier people.
The event highlighted the need for the hospital to have more equipment to function effectively.
From a hospital level down to a health center, this thing is vital. So some time ago, ours kind of all broke down. We replaced them, but you need a good stock of this to use it continuously. So we really appreciate them to come forward with it.
Staff of the hospital said they provide services to NCD residents and those from other provinces as well.
People from Gulf come over, Central Province come in, so this is, it's quite a small facility by appearance, but it serves a vast number of people.
For the construction company, this visit to the hospital has made them aware that more needs to be done.
Well, now that we understand the needs of this hospital, but we will also go and procure 2 brand new ones of these ones for this hospital. So we'll go about doing that now and deliver those as soon as we can get them.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Trukai Sports is next. Hunters impress NRL coaches. I'll be back with the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. 2 SP Hunters players were given training and trial opportunities with NRL clubs, while the third has been contracted to another Intrust Super Cup club. Kato Otio has joined the Canberra Raiders, while Warren Clare is bound for Cronulla Sharks on train and trial engagements.
Kato Otio joined the Raiders last month and has been training with the first grade squad alongside the likes of Caesar Waka, Josh Papali, Blake Austin and Edric Lee. Otio is expected to gain from his time in a fully professional setup with the potential to stay on if the Raiders staff is satisfied. He can make the transition from the Queensland Cup to the NRL. Canberra Raiders coach Ricky Stewart said Otio has the physical attributes but is prepared to give him time to settle into the Raiders' first grade training system. Stewart also said Otio had a really good opportunity to secure a contract with the club. He proved to be a hit on the left wing for the Hunters, and being at the Raiders will be a great opportunity to develop as a professional footballer. Otio has a host of experienced forwards to learn from in the likes of Papali, Soliola, Frank Paul Nuasala and Sean Fensom. Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
Minister for Sports Justin Chichenko says the country is ready to host 20 international events in the coming years. He said the government will ensure that all facilities are delivered before these events. Rafael Akaure reports.
After winning the bid to host the Under-21 Football World Cup,
and 2017 Rugby League World Cup. Minister for Sports has reiterated that PNG is ready to host these two events. These events will follow the success of the 2015 Pacific Games, where safety will be assured to all members of the sporting fraternity.
Facilities, especially the fields and the facilities for this World Cup. With the 18 countries coming in November, we have to have all these facilities to FIFA compliance by July 2016. So we've got a lot of work to do, and PNG Sports Foundation with contractors and experts will take FIFA World Cup to the next level and show off Papua New Guinea as the sporting hub in the Pacific.
He said PNG is ready to prove to the world that it is capable of hosting such events, as well as hosting other major international events within the Pacific region. These events will give PNG the opportunity to bid for other big sporting events in the future.
At the end of the day, we've got two major world events, one after another. 2016 with football and 2017 with Rugby League. Our country should be very proud that we are getting these world events because the government invested into professional, quality, certified infrastructure, which is now attracting these world events here to our wonderful country, Papua New Guinea.
The 2017 Rugby World Cup will take place in October 2017 after the Women's Football World Cup. Rafaela Kaure, National EMTV Sports.
It's just 2 years to go before the world's best rugby league teams play in the final of the Rugby League World Cup 2017. Rugby League World Cup 2017 Chief Executive Officer Michael Brown revealed the new tournament logo with current and future rugby league stars.
The Rugby League World Cup 2017 logo was designed in consultation with Australian, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea cultural leaders. It represents the movement, agility and power of the sport and blends together the trophy as the ultimate prize of the event, the colors of the host nations and their cultures. Rugby League World Cup 2017 will be officially co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand from October to December in 2017, with the world's best players from 14 nations competing to become world champions. There will be 28 matches in the tournament played across 3 countries. 3 pool matches will be played in Port Moresby, while the remaining matches in the tournament will be allocated following discussions with potential host cities in Australia and New Zealand. In conjunction with the tournament, the Women's World Cup will be held at the same time as the men's. The Rugby League World Cup is the main event on the international calendar, with many players passionate about representing their country on the world stage. Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To boxing now, and the annual general meeting was held over the weekend in Kaveng, New Island Province for the PNG Boxing Union. The meeting was held after the National Boxing Championship finals to elect new executives for the union.
New Macao were crowned the champions of last week's successful National Boxing Championships in Kaveng. And John Avira was returned as the PNG Boxing Union president. There were also other big announcements to improve funding assistance for the sport. The sport has enjoyed great success this year, with 8 gold medals out of 13 on offer at the July Pacific Games, followed by Thaddeus Katua's gold medal performance at the Youth Commonwealth Games. The government knows the huge potential that sports can play in promoting the country on the world stage with the Pacific Games and the success of Rugby League through the PNG Hunters in the Queensland Interest Super Cup. The government will help in a similar way for boxing, which has great potential to put PNG on the world map.
You got the support of the Governor General who watched the sport, the Prime Minister and myself, now Minister. We are right behind boxing, all right? We are going to support boxing and go all the way with it.
Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
Yarawari Secondary School at Sogeri is hosting its fundraising dinner this evening to help raise funds to replace the school's sporting facilities. The fundraiser is to raise money to build 2 new basketball, volleyball and netball courts. Meanwhile, the old basketball courts have been removed to make way for the construction of a new dining hall. And then in Trukai Sports, the weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. First of all, in the southern region, cloudy and rain for Port Moresby, fine weather for Daru and Alatau, mostly fine in Kerma and Popondetta. To the Momase region, brief showers expected in Wau, Medang, Wewak, brief showers in Vanimo as well, and evening showers in Leh. To the New Guinea Islands region, brief showers expected in Lorengau and Buka, mostly fine in Kavieng and Kimbe, and evening showers expected in Kokopo and Rabaul. And in the Highlands region, showers and fog for Mount Hagen and Goroka, mostly fine in Kundiawa, mostly fine in Mendi, and mostly fine as well in Wabag. And a look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerama, Yule Island, to Hood Point to Samarai Island, including waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And the ocean forecast for PNG waters. First of all, the Coral Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight with southeast to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas slight with west to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And Pacific Ocean, seas slight to moderate with southwest to northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. And to end the news, recapping our top stories, another mass shooting in the US leaves 14 dead. Critically low water levels force rationing program for NCD, and PNG Fire Service chief says review must happen. And that ends the news for today, Thursday, the 3rd of December 2015. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.